Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Emmitsburg September 4th, 2018 town meeting. At this time, I'll ask that folks who have phones silence them or turn them off in respect to decorum of the meeting. And afterwards, I'll ask that we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so at the moment we do have a quorum. We're a little bit late personnel-wise. Commissioner Sweeney had contacted the mayor and advised him he would be running late this evening. We've not heard from Commissioner Buckman, but we hope she is well, and we anticipate her arriving soon, we hope. Okay, future meetings. The write-in election deadline for a write-in candidate that would occur. The deadline for that is Tuesday, September 18th, 2018 at noon. The town elections will occur Tuesday, September 25th, 2018 at 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. The voting location is number 22 East Main Street, the former town office on Main Street. The town council will next meet Monday, October 1st at 7:30 p.m. here in the community building. Okay, so any other meetings to add to this? Nope. Okay, hearing none, we move forward. My hope is everyone's had the opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any changes, modifications, enhancements that anyone wants to see?
I had none.
No? Okay. Mr. Blanchard, anything? No? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes from August 6th as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the August 6th minutes as amended.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Blanchard. It's been seconded by Commissioner Ritz. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries 3-0 with Commissioners Sweeney and Buckman not present. Okay, we now turn to the deputy for the police report.
Good evening. Let me adjust this thing. All right, that works a little better. All right. This evening we actually have 2 months. Deputy Whitehouse and I, neither he nor I were able to be here in the month of July, so we're going to do the month of July, and then we will do the stats for the month of August. So the month of July, we had 4 destruction of properties, 20 911 hang-ups, 12 alarms, 1 fraud case, assisted the fire department 3 times, other agencies 6, and suspicious activities 3. We had 8 tox cards, 11 walking patrols, and 52 patrol checks in the town. Deputy Whitehouse and I had a combined total of 83 stops, which resulted in 33 citations, 78 warnings, 1 ERO. We had 1 traffic complaint, 4 selective enforcements, and 2 crashes in town. The arrest we had for the month was 1 traffic arrest and 1 criminal citation. Deputy Whitehouse also served a warrant, and we had an abundance of 911 hang-up calls, as you can see, from the Daughters of Charity, and we believe we have rectified that situation. They changed their new way they call out, so they kept calling 911 and then the number. So with Ken Vaughn, we have rectified that situation. On to the month of August. Deputy Whitehouse and I enjoyed 2 weeks of vacation, but we had Deputy Hillman, Sergeant Hillman up here in our absence. So if you see the numbers are a little lower, that is why. Had 1 burglary, 2 thefts, 2 juvenile complaints, and before we go any further, as far as they being Mount St. Mary's or anything, they were generated at the Exxon station of juveniles behind that development there. So 7 suspicious activities, and I'll tell you, most of those were in the parks, like people sitting in their car when it's dark, just sitting there. 2 trespasses, 2 assaults, 17 alarms, 24 911 hang-ups, and majority of those are also, again, from the Daughters of Charity across the street. Assisted the fire department 5 times, The tox cars were 9. Walking patrols, 11. Patrol checks were 69. Combined, we had a total of 51 stops in a month, 27 citations, 42 warnings, 1 ERO, and 1 traffic complaint. We had 5 parking complaints. I can tell you 3 of those were from Mount St. Mary students, and they were polite and cooperative. They just parked the wrong way against the curb. And after knocking on their door, they came out, moved it, and haven't had another incident since then. Selective enforcements of 4. We had 5 collisions. Arrests, we had 1 traffic arrest for driving on suspended license, 1 warrant served, and Deputy Whitehouse has pending charges on one of the thefts. So the special assignments that we had in the month of August was National Night Out, which was a success. It's my understanding that next year, possibly, we may be having more resources from the sheriff's office.
Yes.
So maybe we'll get a bigger crowd out here than we had even the past 2 years. Deputy Whitehouse and I assisted Middletown with a Middletown Pride Parade. That was for like their athletics. It was kind of a short notice. They sprung that on them, and they asked for us to help. And also, we had a pool party this past month. So Deputy Whitehouse and I also assisted patrol on several calls outside of town. One of those that I assisted with was MSP in a bicycle versus car or a truck, and that patient was flown out. Again, if you read the notes, you can see that we worked with Ken Vaughn for the 911s, the numerous 911s. And yes, that is the police officer's report.
Great. Any questions for the deputy?
Mr. Barron?
Yes, sir.
The vehicle versus bicycle,
Mm-hmm.
is do you have any follow-up on that? Is the patient okay?
Yes, he actually sustained a broken tib fib, so it's fibula and tibula, and he was flown out. The amazing part was I was the second car on the scene, and he continued to try to stand up. I mean, so he, and they said what actually saved his leg was the fact that he is a bicyclist. He does it quite a bit, and his muscle and his tendons were so strong that kind of saved his leg. So, yeah. So if there's any positive of that, ride
Yeah.
bicycle.
Okay.
What was the closest intersection to the accident? It was not in town, but near town, or?
No, it was early in the morning, and that's I was actually sitting on South Seaton, so it was fairly early in the morning, like 5:45 a.m. It was down off of Mars Station at Old Frederick, and the bicyclist didn't stop at the stop sign coming down Old Frederick. So
Gosh, that's unfortunate. Okay,
Thanks.
great. All right. The fraud. Any knowledge of the fraud? Is there something we could advise the community about somebody like
that
causing issues?
it wasn't like a phone fraud or IRS scam. It was just one of your typical frauds. It's they end up using the person's name and email address to purchase an iPhone and
Gotcha.
send it to the actual individual's house, but it was out of New York is where the person generated it from.
Oh, okay.
So
We've been having a lot of fraud calls in town using our town numbers. A lady said I called her house, that I had called her house and asked her a whole bunch of information from my telephone number. She called me back, and it wasn't me. It's somebody using the town numbers
Right.
locally to call out and trying to get information from everybody in town.
It's like a vendor's using
Yeah,
dummy numbers, which are ours, so to speak.
right, I've heard a little bit about that they use.
I had one
And
call
there-
me tonight
and-
before I come here.
Yeah.
Earlier this evening.
To my knowledge, those are generated overseas, and they're spoofing other people's numbers to call people to try to get information. So if you don't recognize the caller on the other line, just hang up and call us, and we'll investigate the best we can.
But what is, the lady got my number called from town, and she called me.
Oh, she called you back.
And they asked me, well, you know, you gonna call me a couple times, and I told you I don't want anything. I said, give me a call.
What are you selling?
But they've also called me with my own telephone number. I watched my own name come up on the TV.
Holy cow.
And, with my own
That sounds like something out of the Twilight Zone. Not sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
well,
I told her I would ask about it when I come in, but it's been happening here in the last week or two. So
And I know it's happening not just in Emmitsburg. It's happened in other places in the county and also in the United States. So
okay.
Okay, so maybe we need to find out who we need to contact at the
I don't
state
know if we
level.
can send an alert out on the phone, on our cable channel about the
Dummy
calls
numbers.
with the dummy numbers coming up with the town numbers.
I'll do some more research within our agency and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Great.
So fair enough.
Okay. Any other questions for the deputy? None? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it. Okay, be safe, please. Okay, moving forward, I'm sorry.
Was it your cell phone or was it an actual town number?
It's the town numbers, the 447 numbers.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm having something similar. It's not Mr. Sweeney who's calling me, but it's a 447 number, a 301-447 number, and then the person on the other end of the line is obviously speaking with a very thick accent, and they sound as if they're calling from abroad.
Okay.
So it's not the best connection. Okay. We now turn to the town manager's report. I'm sorry, do you have a question on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading the, I'm sorry I'm late. I had another meeting before this one. We have a special meeting coming up, correct? For the planning and zoning on September the 18th?
Yes, we do.
Because I didn't see that written down here.
Oh.
But we do have a special meeting coming up on September the 18th. It'll be here Monday at 7:30,
Yes,
September the 18th.
correct.
And what's the topic of the meeting, may I ask, or are you allowed to disclose, or?
Yes, we are. We received the letter from Frederick County Waste Department, and they had a request from Fort Detrick to dispose of municipal waste at their location.
Okay, is this composting we're talking about, or solid waste, or?
Solid waste.
Non-biological.
And they're
Right,
talking
so they're
about,
required for all the planning commissions, all the municipalities' planning commissions to review the plan
okay,
and provide input.
all right, so the context is it's not an operation that's going to take place here in our community.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
very good, okay, all right. All right, so there will be a meeting September 18th, 2018, of the Planning and Zoning Committee related to Fort Detrick's new waste management program, or? how
That
would
sounds
we
about
characterize
right.
it?
They
Is
want to
that
start disposing their waste in Frederick County facilities.
right? Okay, terrific. All right, well, there we are. Mr. Sweeney, any other meetings?
That's it,
That's it, very
as far
good.
as I know.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we turn to the town manager for the town manager's report.
All right, good evening. This is the town manager's report for July of 2018. I'll highlight some of the areas of my report. Beginning with the streets, staff installed 2 new streetlights on West Main Street. They also assisted the contractor with GIS mapping. We replaced some faded banners on the streetlight poles, and they conducted their monthly street sweeping. Related to the sidewalk project, staff raised banners to 80 inches for the SHA's ADA requirements. Related to the park, we installed the new community park welcome sign. The staff and contractor blacktop 3 entrances to the dog park and 2 patches on the walking trail near the pavilion. We completed installation of the new playground in Emmett Gardens, and the staff removed several loads of wood in Emmett Gardens after Potomac Edison completed their tree trimming project to the rear of the playground there in Emmett Gardens. Related to water, the Rainbow Lake is still at the spillway level of 16.6 feet. Our wells are doing very well. Well number 4 and number 5 are currently shut off. We purchased 429,000 gallons of water from the Mount this month in July. Related to the wastewater, we received 13.35 inches of precipitation in the month of July, and the average is 3.66. Therefore, we have a surplus of 17.26 inches of rain or precipitation over the last 6 months. We treated an average of 862,000 gallons per day, and we consumed 241,769 gallons per day, which means 72.5% of that, the wastewater treated in the month of July was considered wild water. We had 2 spills of untreated sewerage in the month of July due due to the heavy downpours. Both were reported to MDE and Frederick County Health Department. It was about 2,000 gallon overflow on July 4th and 18,000 gallon overflow on July 22nd. We exceeded the plant's design capacity 8 times in the month of July, and you'll see the dates and the gallons per day that were in excess. Trash will remain the same, or Mondays and the remainder of September. Trash would have been picked up today as a result of the holiday yesterday. I highlighted some of the meetings that I attended in the month of July. Under noteworthy, staff and a contractor fixed 2 water leaks in the area of 9363 and 9371 Waynesboro Pike, as well as an additional leak on the square. We believe we also have another leak out on Waynesboro Pike that we're trying to assess. In the month of July, over the course of 6 days, the pumping station pumped approximately 13,165,000 gallons. The plant was maxed out and all available equalization space was filled up, which essentially means it overflowed. It flooded, the pumping station flooded. We'll get into more detail when we get down to Agenda 4, number 5. The water treatment plant's ability to function went downhill fast due to the heavy rain on July 21st, which caused the lake to become very muddy. During this time frame, all the wells were turned on to compensate for the dirty raw water. It has since balanced out since then. And finally, we're currently looking to hire a lead water and sewer operator. Our current lead operator has resigned, and his last day will be September 7th. We'll be bringing our recommendation to you at the November meeting. And that's all I have for my manager's report.
Great. Any questions for the town manager related to the report?
I don't have a question for the report. It's just a question in general. I don't know if it's for you or Mr. Golden. Just related to the Flat Run Bridge.
Okay?
Phase 2, last month, SHA was here. They stated that sometime this fall, they were hoping that Phase 2, the south side of 140, would be
Right.
open. Is that still on schedule?
We will have a progress meeting, I believe, it's either next week or the following week. We haven't had any status report
Okay.
related to the bridge to date since that last meeting.
Just checking in on them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the manager? Okay, I have a few. All right. Have we found anything out regarding the traffic light masts for the square when an installation, or will that be found out, do you think, at the next meeting?
Mr. Golden emailed Sherry today the status, because they were supposed to be completed about 2 weeks ago. We have not heard back from her related to what the delay is.
Okay.
I'll let you know the tree grates are going in along East and West Main Street this week.
Okay.
As soon as we get some information back from Sherry, we'll pass an email along just with an update on the mass.
Terrific. Keeping it with State Highway for a moment, the intersection at Silo Hill and 140, the Jubilee McDonald's intersection with Emmett Gardens there, I noticed that I would assume staff hacked down that oak tree of a weed that was displacing one of the signs. I don't know if that happened or it fell over on its own, but could we get State Highway to clean those? I mean, those intersections are the first thing folks see, and if these folks are trying to sell homes, it looks like we're a Rust Belt community that's failing, and the weeds are up to here, and there's rocks and debris everywhere. If that can happen, that would be great, because they just, it sends a very poor message about us. Next item.
We actually have an answer to that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, President O'Donnell, our code enforcement officer, Mrs. Nail, she actually reached out to them today, and
Terrific.
so hopefully they'll clean that up in the next couple of days. Hopefully,
Thank you. Great. I mean, that's a gateway. It's so huge that we have that
Right.
done well.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Great. Ms. Nail, thank you. Hats off. Emmett Gardens, the playground there, amen. It's taken a long time to get it. I did notice that the pavement didn't match the lip of the plastic surround that contains the chips. If I recall from talking to the mayor, they're going to come and finish that. Is that correct? Do we know when that's going to happen to get the grade to match
This is
the
actually the
chips?
first that I've heard about it, so I will
Okay.
check.
All right.
The ADA part?
88 path is in.
Yeah, but the
Is that what you're
ramp
talking
up,
about?
the ramp up to it just goes like this and it sits up like this.
Okay, yeah.
There's a
that's-
retaining wall that's plastic, and the ramp falls about 8 inches shy of that. So that's kind of a concern, because if you're in a wheelchair or you're having mobility issues, you're not going to access it too easily.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, thank you. That's appreciated. But coming back to the fact that we have a playground there, thank you guys for sticking with that. I wish Ms. Sipperly were here, nothing personal, but it's great that we finally have that, because it's been almost 13 years in effort to get it from committee to execution, so that's terrific. All right, last item, I promise. The sidewalk gap at Timber Mill Run, it accesses, I think it's a topsoil mound.
Right.
Any progress there with their developer?
You want to take it, Mr. Mayor, or I will?
Go ahead.
We actually had a conference call, Mr. Gould and Mr. Mayor and myself, with the contractor, and the way that it was left, that the town is going to obtain some estimates. We're going to complete the sidewalk with a curb cut,
Great.
and then bill the contractor.
Terrific, okay.
There's concerns that with this new construction, they are still going to have to be able to use that area, but we're going to get that completed hopefully soon.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. That's
Miss-
appreciated.
The mayor and Mr. Goulden were instrumental in getting that taken care of
Great.
last week.
Thank you both. That's awesome. That ends my questions.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Blanchard.
One question, and I wasn't sure. Did you receive a letter from County Councilman DeLauder?
I did. I'm going
Wasn't sure
to
what you needed to
tie that
address.
into comments.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough. I just wasn't sure if this was a good place or not. No, that's it.
I did not get a copy of that or
You get
to
it
the
yet?
office.
I did not either.
Okay,
I think we should,
I will share that with you.
Okay, I thought
absolutely.
you did. I thought you were
But-
on the CC also. So
It appeared as if in the masthead it did CC you, so maybe that was to the wrong addresses, but I will forward that. I'll
I
definitely
didn't
forward
bring it
that.
with me either. Sorry.
I didn't get it.
Okay. But in comments, it's nothing
Okay,
salacious,
that's fine,
it's
that's
nothing
fine.
horrible, it's just
Yeah.
an opinion. Okay. Moving forward.
The planner's report?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will.
Okay, I processed a variance application for 55 Second Avenue. The applicant was asking, he wanted to construct a new single-family dwelling on this empty lot in the Emmett Gardens. It did not meet current setback minimum lot area per unit and width zoning standards. That was approved this month. Community Legacy processed and submitted the following reimbursement requests: $33,191.55 for the town revitalization project. This includes sidewalks, engineering, miscellaneous expenses. We did receive that money. Processed and mailed the following reimbursement requests for the Community Legacy grant for the following building renovation projects: over $6,000 for 25 West Main Street, over $6,000 for 1 West Main Street. Process submitted the following Community Legacy 2017 applications to the Maryland Historical Trust for review and approval: 239 North Seaton Avenue, 3 West Main. They were approved. Maryland Heritage Area Authority processed and submitted a reimbursement for the town revitalization project in the amount of $30,415. This was for the brick sidewalks and the seat planners. We have not received that yet, but the grant will be fully utilized. For MS4, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, met with representatives from Advanced Land and Water to discuss future MS4 storm drain and outlet mapping projects. They will provide us a quote. For permits, we were pretty busy this month. Processed and submitted the Frederick County building permit application for the town's electrical vehicle charging station. That should be starting up any day now. Processed and approved 2 sign applications: 1 new home in Brookfield, 2 roof, paver patio, 2 use and occupancies, 1 fence, and for the zoning electric vehicle charging stations. And I assisted the code enforcement officer with various enforcement letters. In regards to the planning commission, we did hold a planning commission meeting, processed the lot addition application for Seaton Avenue. The planning commission approved combining lots 24, 57, and 25 and 56 and 26 and 55. Processed the petition, which we'll talk about more tonight, for 600 to 602 East Main Street. The applicant has proposed changing the zoning from R1 to B1. The planning commission recommended approval of the petition. Miscellaneous: gathered information to help the town clerk update the Rainbow Lake Emergency Action Plan. Attended a walkthrough meeting regarding the sidewalk project. Attended a meeting regarding the bridge project with the contractor. Met with town manager, town clerk, mayor, Amy Sees regarding Main Street affiliate program. And I also attended your Board of Commissioners meeting.
Great, okay. Any questions for the planner related to the report? Just for the sake of clarity regarding the setback for the Board of Appeals, okay, where the lot does not meet current minimum lot area per unit, so that is now going to the Board of Appeals, is that correct, or
So the board, it did go to the Board of Appeals,
Okay.
and they did approve it.
they did approve it? Okay,
Yes.
very good, all right.
So it was the lots are very old. The minimum lot requirement was 12,000 square area, and it was 9,000. They approved 9,000, and then the width was the current zoning standard is 85, and they approved 60. So it was just they're old lots. So
Sure, okay, great. So new construction, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Great. That's exciting.
I think they're gonna probably put a building permit in any day now. So
That's awesome. Okay, any other questions for the planner? No? All right, so now we go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Ritz?
Here's to a safe and successful school year to Emmitsburg students, teachers who work here, and teachers who live here. Congratulations to Commissioners O'Donnell and Sweeney. Looking forward to working with you another few years, at least until my term's up in 2020. Still a reminder for everybody to get out there and vote. And also this Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. at Community Park, we have a band playing. It's traditional Irish music. Kind of goes hand in hand with what the Shamrock's doing here in a couple weeks. The Shamrock
Halfway to
Restaurant's
St. Patty's
celebrating
Day.
halfway to St. Patty's Day, so I figured, why not? Kind of tie those two things together.
What time?
6 o'clock
Great,
this Saturday.
thank you.
And that's it.
Oh, very
Thank
good. Okay,
I was just giving you a chance to write that down.
sure. Commissioner Buckman, welcome. We are turning to you for commissioner comments.
No, I'm fine right now.
Okay, very good. All right, Commissioner Sweeney?
I'm fine right now, too.
Okay, great. Commissioner Blanchard?
A couple things, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
First off, just great use, I think, of the pool this season. And I know you supplied numbers back when we were in June comparing the last season we were open to that June. If we could get numbers for the entire season in comparison and try to get that into the paper, I think that would be a good idea. I mean, just worthwhile investment we put into it, and just, I mean, it seemed like every time I went, it was being utilized by town people quite a bit. I mean,
I agree.
Much more
Staff
so than
actually
previous
got those
seasons.
numbers together, and I left them on my desk.
okay, cool, thanks.
So
Just
I will pass that along to the board, and we'll also make sure that everybody's aware.
Thanks. All right, cool. All right, and then we have one more food drop for the season in September. It's September 20th. It's on a Wednesday. It's, again, behind the Lutheran Church on Main Street. The last 3 food drops we've had, June, July, and August, were all very successful. I'd like to thank Commissioner Buckman for coming by and plugging this in for a little bit. Again, we've served about 100 families each time we've done this through the Emmitsburg Food Bank, so thanks a lot. And let's see. Oh, this weekend is the Emmitsburg Thurmont Community Show. Come on down, check it out if you haven't done so before. This Friday is the opening ceremony. We'll be carrying the flag for the town and get a chance to meet other people from the county, being there also. And it's a sort of like a mini Frederick Fair, basically, in the northern part of the county. It's a lot of fun, I think. So, and I think that's it. So there you go.
Great, okay, thank you, sir. I was contacted by a member of the Indian Lookout Conservation Club. They're sending a formal inquiry to town staff related to access to the Scott Road Farm. Their concern relates to the fact that hunting access has now been ended in a pilot program for the year. They're interested in seeing that opportunity returned, and they had some offerings regarding cleaning and taking care of the land and stewardship. So if you haven't gotten that, that's coming your way, so you know.
I have.
Okay, very good. I had an inquiry related to using the baseball fields in Community Park, and I don't know if staff got that, but I'll forward it to you in the event that you did
I
not.
have it.
You have that? Great. Okay, all right. So it's not coming your way. You got it? Terrific. I received a suggestion from a business owner in town. Okay. who expressed some suggestions related to zoning issues for temporary steel storage boxes, like the devices that are used for containerizing packages and such. And currently, our zoning doesn't allow it, and their suggestion is we reconsider that. So I think that might be something worth reviewing and giving consideration to and having a fuller context.
It's actually in the building code, not the zoning code.
Okay, in the building code, very good. Okay, so therefore, if staff doesn't have that one, I will forward that. If
I do not have that
If
one.
not tonight, and Mr. Mayor, I'll forward that to you also. Did other members of the board receive this? Very good.
I
Okay,
got it,
all right.
so-
Interesting how that happens. Okay. And lastly, I met with a citizen who's interested in starting up a youth, like a little kid, like a GROM sports program, but they need information related to gymnasium access. And I'm worried that ship has sailed. I'm not sure for gymnasium reservations. So I will be steering him toward the town office to seek information on that.
Okay, yeah, that ship did sail, but we can always take a look at it and offer up some days that may still be open.
Great. Okay.
Just put him in contact with either myself or Ms. Shaw.
Okay, and I saw the website where the town has current information related to trail access. It looked great. I appreciate you doing that. I actually posted that up so other folks can see it. But for clarification, Thursday this week is the last day for weekday access. Friday begins the hunting season, so moving forward, trail access is limited to Sundays only until the spring, and a date will be
Until
posted.
May 23rd.
May 23rd. Well, that's good to know. Okay. All right, and with that, I end my comments. Thank you. And now we move forward. Mr. Mayor, we turn to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving forward from the town meeting, which was August 6th, I met with the new Trinity Methodist Church minister and welcomed him, Richard Baker, to our community. Attended the Thurmont Enrichment Program graduation, Frederick Rescue Mission. That was in Thurmont. Frederick Rescue Mission 55 strong. Visited our pool and swam and got some pizza. Local business gave them funded the pizza. Video production for the municipality's Impact Award. Frederick County Office of Economic Development. God bless you, whoever that was back there. Was that Mr. Matty? Thank you. I had a little video, and they're going to have something on tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon, and I'll be over there at 5. EVPA breakfast, Carriage House Inn, made a presentation at their breakfast. The pool party was there for a while. I want to thank Amy and Maddie for all the work they put in on that, and it was a wonderful experience. We had a little weather working against us, but it was a very good program. Met with Dan Reaver, President, and Alan Nada, Emmitsburg Glass, Chip Jewell, Frederick County Fire and Rescue Museum, and the town manager and I. And with regard to the William Cochran glass etching, we will have a groundbreaking the afternoon of the the Fallen Firefighters Memorial Day, Sunday afternoon. We'll have that. That will not be in by that time. We're going to slow that down. Money has been raised. It was terrific. Thank everybody in our community for contributing to that who did. Interpretive sign meeting on the square, Doughboy and Emmett House. The town manager and town clerk were with me on that, and it looks like it's going to be very interesting, and working it out. And one will feature the square, and the other two will be up at the Doughboy and Emmett House to start off. And we've got 5 or 6 other locations that we're going to kind of put in as we go, queue in. Green Team meeting. Thank you, Ms. Shaw, again, for running the Green Team. We had an away game. We went over to the Seton Center and toured that with good Sister Martha, and it was a special event. And we're going to go somewhere next time and visit another part of our town, have another away game. Conference call with Lisa McDonald of Boys and Girls Club. We didn't get it last year. We're going to make another shot at it if all things line up. Myself, Ms. Shaw. I think were you in on that meeting? Yes, she was. The town manager was, and also And finally, we had a conference call with the developer, myself and the town manager, on regard to the completing the sidewalk. With regard to the Fort Detrick's request to add to our municipal waste, our capacity for our landfill is like 2,035, 33, and then we farm it out to Pennsylvania and Virginia. I serve on the Solid Waste Steering Committee, and we have 2 reports which I have given to our planner, and they will be a part of that report, and he'll be able to summarize pretty much where we are, what we can do, and what kind of how we should handle that. Fort Detrick's a city. It has 5,000 or 6,000 people working there and live there, and it's going to be an explosion at the landfill. Anyway, there we go. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we turn now to,
I have one question.
Sure, it's-
The
yes, sir.
interpretive signs, do we have samples? Just curious what they're going to look like.
I haven't seen them. We've asked the person who came up here, who does this with the county, to contact Mr. Hillman for his input.
Okay.
And then they're going to be sort of you'd be able to approach them as from a handicap if you're a wheelchair, but they'll be sitting up on an angle at the square and up it that way. And we're working with locations, and when the final product comes back, we'll
Yeah,
correct.
the one thing I was leaning towards questioning was at the Doughboy. I remember Commissioner Blanchard had some really great ideas for signage there, and just if we were incorporating those. I don't know if you remember a few years back
Well,
in the history there.
Very much so.
has the language
I
been
still remember.
finalized?
No, we have a follow-up meeting with them, I believe,
Right.
the 3rd week of September. I don't know, have the date in front of me. And they'll come back. They were provided just basically all the historical information for the town, different sites that they can go and find the information. They were given Mr. Hillman's contact information. So we kind of gave them just all the historical stuff that we had, and then we are going to see what they have come up with as
Okay.
far as the locations that were picked, the Doughboy, the Emmett House, and then at the square.
There would be a period picture of the fountain, there'd be of the Emmett House, and some things on the Doughboy, just little pictures, and then this description of what they are there.
And thematically, are we tying this into like the Civil War heritage area notion, or
A
just
little broader.
daughters,
A
or
little broader than
broader?
that.
Okay,
Now, that's the main theme, but I think we want to be a little, because one of the best pictures we have is taken in 1922 at the square, where you have the Marines walking up to
Oh, to Gettysburg,
and
sure.
the Civil War
Great job.
gentleman there. So we're looking at it, but it's just to get this trail thing, and we kind of start from the square and took it to the far end of it, and then we'll build in and add to.
Okay.
And so,
will the board see the language before it's finalized?
no, it won't- yes, maybe.
I would definitely hope the board would be able to see the language before it's finalized,
Oh,
just
that sounds like
to,
a threat.
as it's,
Are
as
you
it,
threatening me?
as it's representing the community.
Okay.
It just, and the issue I'm speaking to specifically, like Mr. Ritz referenced directly, was the Doughboy. I think it shows two different perspectives on something, and I think there's merit there in Mr. Blanchard's language. I thought his statement was very well crafted.
Okay. What we asked them, and I talked to them about that, is that maybe look at the two perspectives, what was the history there, and then also this is not what we feel today.
Of course,
That-
sure.
Exactly.
That was pointed out to them
Okay.
directly, and absolutely, you'll be able to see it.
Great,
Okay.
okay. Preferably before it gets posted. All right, yes.
When it's up,
The first one caught.
Yeah, figure.
Okay, moving forward. Any other questions related to the mayor's comments? Unique
I'm
circumstance.
good, thank you.
Okay, staff, do we have anybody signed up for public comments this evening for our meeting? One person, very good, okay. Terrific, okay. All right. Oh, but this is related to the zoning issue, it's not for general comment?
Correct.
Correct, very good, okay, terrific, okay, thank you. All right, so we move forward. We now turn to administrative business. At this time, we have none. we have a consent agenda item related to 3 appointments. Remember, there's no comment related to the consent agenda vote. Okay, so basically we go the consent items and then we vote. So we turn now to staff.
For the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. You're looking to reappoint Mark Walker for October 20th, 2018 to October 20th, 2020. These all came from Commissioner Buckman. It's her committee. She recommended the appointment of Brian McKinney to the Citizens Advisory Committee, as well as the appointment of Melissa McKinney to the Citizens Advisory Committee. Their terms would be effective starting today, and they have a 2-year term.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll ask that we have a motion for each of these individually, and then we'll vote. Remember, there will not be comment, so I'm not going to ask for comment. I'll just call the vote.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Mark Walker to the Citizens Advisory Committee for the term of October 20th, 2018 to October 20th, 2020.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Very good. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? Very good. The motion carries 5-0 with all commissioners present. Okay, is there a motion for the second item?
I make a motion to accept Brian McKinney to the Citizen Advisory Committee for the terms of 9/4/2018 to 9/4/2020.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, the motion's made by Commissioner Sweeney. It's been seconded by Commissioner Buckman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Very good. Is there a third motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Melissa McKinney to the Citizens Advisory Committee for the term of September 4th, 2018 to September 4th, 2020.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Very good. The motion has been made by Commissioner Ritz. It's been seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. We turn now to the Treasurer's report. Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, Mr. President. Town of Emmitsburg cash activity as of August 27th, 2018, $5,183,780. Cash balance forward August 1st, 2018, $5,581,552. Operating balance forward. As always, we have the top 10 check amounts, the vendor names, descriptions, the check dates, etc.
Terrific. Okay. Any questions for staff or the treasurer related to these items? No? Hearing none, we move forward. Okay. Any planning commission report? Beyond? None? Okay. All right. We press on to our agenda items. Our first agenda item relates to approval of the 2018 election judges. Anything?
I was just wondering if there was no one for public comment, because we,
No, no one signed up for public comment related to general
oh, I
items.
see.
But we do have someone signed up about a specific agenda item. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. So, Mr. Mayor, we turn to you now related to the election judges. Yes, sir.
Okay. Requesting approval of the 2018 election judges presented at this meeting. Charlotte Mazaleski, Barbara Whedon, Sharon Hain, Tammy May, and Joan Tracy.
Very good. Thank you, sir. We've heard the mayor's recommendation, and Mr. Mayor?
Can
Yes.
I add something, Mr. Mayor? You need 3 election judges and 1 alternate, so I believe, if you look below what your actual recommendations
I'm
were.
sorry. Very good.
Were Sharon Hain, Barbara Whedon, Charlotte Mazaleski, and based on timing, you recommended Tammy May.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, all right, so.
I'll apologize.
Nope, no problem, sir. Thank you. Okay, so, do we want to do this as a collective, as it's for an election, or do we want to do it individually? Any recommendation from staff?
Probably individually.
Okay, all right. Anybody on the board have any issue if we do this individually?
No, do we have to actually appoint the chief judge, or does that, at this time?
You can just approve them as election judges. She's just always been the chief judge.
She's the chief judge for the county. though,
Correct.
so given her experience, so it makes
Yes.
sense. Okay. I just never, the only reason I'm asking is because I don't ever recall
No, you can just,
specifically voting for a chief judge.
no, you're just approving your election judges.
Okay, all right. So is there a motion for the first judge?
I make a motion to appoint Charlotte Mislowski,
Mazaleski? Yes, sir.
for a town election judge for 2018.
Very good, thank you, sir. Is there a second for Mr. Sweeney's nomination of Charlotte Mazaleski?
I'll second that.
Very good, thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Sweeney. It's been seconded by Commissioner Buckman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? No. The motion carries 5-0. Very good. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Barbara Whedon as election judge.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Very good. The motion has been made by Commissioner Buckman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Okay.
And I'll make a motion to accept Tammy May as an alternate judge.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Buckman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Very good.
And then we had one more. Right?
Finally, I'll make a motion to accept Sharon Hain as an election judge for this Emmitsburg 2018 election.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion? I would offer thank you to all the judges.
Yes, it's a very long day.
Great turnout.
Yep.
You know.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Very good. Thank you, folks, and thank you to our judges and our alternate, and for those who volunteered to serve. Okay, we now turn to agenda item number 2, consideration of the recommendation of the Town's Planning Commission to rezone lots 10, 11, 15, and the western half of Lot 2, as shown on the revised plan of Emmett Gardens, from low-density residential, R1, to neighborhood commercial, B1.
I will turn this over to Mr. Golden. He's done a lot of work on this. And I believe you're putting a map up to show the area.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So once she gets the map up, I'll start.
So for clarity, for your public comment, we're going to hear the presentation, then we will invite you for your public comment. Okay, so.
Well, just for background purposes, the property owner is the Sarah E. Baldacchino Trust. However, Mr. Joseph Baldacchino is her son, and he will represent the plan.
Very good.
The location is lots 10, 11, 15, and the western half of 12, as shown on the revised plat on Emmett Gardens. This is recorded in Plat Book Number 3, Folio 52, which is also known as 600/602 East Main Street Extended. A petition to amend the town of Emmitsburg zoning map by rezoning a particular property, which is also called piecemeal map amendment, may be submitted at any time. In accordance with Maryland state law, in order for a piecemeal rezoning to be granted, petitions for the zoning map amendment, when not part of a comprehensive rezoning undertaken by the governing body, must be judged by the change or mistake rule. So it has to have one or the other or both. The change in the character of the neighborhood. This is criteria number 1. It must be shown that there has been change in the character of the neighborhood since the last comprehensive zoning plan, where the request for rezoning is located. As part of this premise, the applicant is to provide an accurate and acceptable definition of the neighborhood where the change is alleged to have occurred, the specific events that have caused the change, and describe the character of the neighborhood before and after the change. Since the map is up, you can see where the little arrow is. That is the subject property. The second criteria, which the applicant is claiming, is the mistake in original zoning. A mistake in the current zoning can be shown to have occurred when there has been a failure to take into account projects or trends probable of fruition, decisions based on erroneous information, facts that later prove to be incorrect, events that have occurred since the current zoning, or ignoring facts and evidence can all contribute to a legitimate mistake having occurred. The petitioner, Mr. Ballacino, is alleging that there was a mistake in the last zoning of the property by virtue of the adoption of the last comprehensive plan and comprehensive rezoning in 2015. They do not seem to be claiming that there has been substantial change to the neighborhood. A petitioner seeking a piecemeal rezoning has a heavy burden. The mistake has to be that in adopting the last comprehensive plan, the board relied on erroneous or incomplete factual information in reaching the decision to zone the property. When the underlying factual basis is not erroneous or incomplete, then the mistake is not that decision based on those facts was an error. In that case, it is simply a matter of bad judgment, not mistake, within the meaning of the rezoning law. In other words, there is no mistake if the board simply made a wrong decision or a bad judgment if the underlying factual basis for that decision was complete and error-free. Whether a petitioner can convince the board that they had erroneous or incomplete information before them when they adopted the comprehensive plan will be the central issue in this case. Just a little bit of staff comments. The applicant has based their request on the argument that the Board of Commissioners would have rezoned this particular property to B1 neighborhood commercial during the comprehensive rezoning if they were made aware of its history as a dental office. This is the mistake that they're claiming. They also argue that neither the parents nor the relatives realized that there was a comprehensive plan process being undertaken in combination with the, excuse me. Okay, yeah. Since it was built in 1960, the R1 single-family residential zoning was adopted for the neighborhood in 1976, and its use for dentistry ceased in 1985. It had pre-existing non-conforming status until the dentistry use ceased for more than 6 months. They were not aware of the situation with regard to the zoning and thought the building could be used again as a medical and dental office. The Board of Commissioners voted to forward this request to the Planning Commission for comment at their July 9th, 2018 meeting. The Planning Commission found that the previous decision made in the 2015 comprehensive plan that was based on incomplete or unknown data through no fault of any person or policy, and they considered this an actual mistake. The recommendation did include a finding of facts, which the code does specify you do have to have. I can go through the finding of facts, or we can wait if the board does decide to go through the public hearing process. Conclusion, given the differences in the locations and surroundings of the rezoned parcels and the subject parcel, it is not clear that the Board of Commissioners would have rezoned 600-602 to B1 as part of the same area rezoned to B1 on the other side of First Avenue. If only they had been informed about the history of the property. Public input from residential neighborhood would also have been weighed during the public hearings. The board must determine if they would like to continue the process of the map amendment request. If yes, the next step is to set a public hearing on the matter. If not, no further action is needed, and typically it's dead on arrival.
Okay, very good. All right, so does anybody have any questions for the planner related to the information presented to us?
That's very thorough.
Okay.
No. I have one question regarding the lot itself. On the southern end of the property that butts up against house number 12 on First Avenue? First Avenue, yes.
Mr. Ritz, I want to kind of interrupt for a second, just for clarification.
Yes.
The process I'm trying to follow relates to the hearing piece versus not having a hearing. That's kind of the question in front of us.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you to hold off on understanding the parcel for a moment unless it relates to determining if there was a mistake by the board or if...
No,
okay.
I wouldn't think that that would be related to a mistake by the board.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to hold off, but we do need to hear the question, don't get me wrong, but it's not in the sequence we need to follow.
Actually, no, thank you. Upon further, no. I think that question would be better suited for a later date anyway.
Okay, all right. So, looking at the facts in front of us, does anybody have any concerns related to the information as it's presented, either related to the argument that's putting in front of us that the board has made a mistake, or that there's been an oversight, or related to what was stated by the town planner? Anybody have any concerns there?
No concerns.
No concerns? Okay, all right. In my view, I'd say in the first part of the argument related to the staff comments, I do understand that the family was not made aware, but the obligation is on the individual to be aware of what's going on with the community. I know there was extenuating circumstances related to the health of the family who resided in town. So I don't know that that necessarily would qualify as the mistake made by the board. To the other end, the predisposition of the prior use of the property as a commercial site, as a medical service site, I think that carries more weight in the argument in my view, and therefore I would be willing to let this move forward to the hearing piece as opposed to killing this here. I think there's value in hearing from the community. So the opportunity could be given to the property owner to proceed and move forward in the process. Not to be too redundant, sorry. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Anybody else have any thoughts? So basically, I'm saying, yes, let's do the hearing. I think that's an appropriate step to move this process forward for the property owner to pursue their opportunity to modify the property zoning. Mr. Sweeney?
I agree.
Okay.
On both counts, not just the one. I knew the person who lived in the home.
Sure.
And they were not coherent enough to understand that there was being a zoning change.
Correct. Okay.
What's that? Okay,
Mr. Sweeney's, he agrees that we should move forward to the hearing process. And if do you want to restate it for the mayor? So,
I don't think the person who lived in the home before his death was coherent enough to understand that there was being a zoning change made. So he did not contact his children to let them know of any of that information. So that's why they didn't get the information at the time, or they'd have been here for that. That's why I agree with both accounts that
in 2015 or what? I'm sorry.
yes.
okay. Anybody else have any concerns or comments?
No, I echo what you stated.
Okay, very good. Mr. Blanchard, we're good?
Good, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, staff, we turn to you. Do you need a vote from the board to move forward to a hearing, or?
Yes, we need the move to set a public hearing date and also to approval of the advertisement.
Okay. So we would need two motions then, is that correct? Advertisement is the second and the meeting first, is that correct?
Yeah, you can combine it into one.
We can? Okay, wrap them into one. Okay.
We have a date?
Do you have a date in mind that
You
you?
could do it the same day as your town meeting, which is October 1st.
Okay, all right. So is this the appropriate language you're seeking from us at the end of the agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay, so this is the language that we would need somebody
I'll do
to
it.
put forward this motion, okay?
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing date for October 1st, 2018 at 7:30 PM. An advertisement for the zoning map amendment request to rezone lots 10, 11, 15, and the western half of 12 as shown on the revised plat of Emmett Gardens. Recorded in plat book number 3, folio 52, from R1 low density residential to B1 neighborhood commercial.
Okay, I hate to do this. I've misspoken. I need to invite the family up for public comment. I apologize. So this is before the vote. I am very sorry.
Well, the main reason I signed the document, I think when I came to the meeting last time, you told me in advance that it's a good idea to get on that list so that if I need it,
Yes, sir.
I'm on the list. So that's why I did it. But I think anything I'd say tonight, I said last meeting, and I think everybody seems to know. So I'm perfectly happy to to relinquish my time.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bellicino. Okay, so
Do I-
Mr. Ritz, I apologize. I didn't mean to
Okay.
jump the gun on the
Do I
motion.
need to restate my
No,
motion?
you don't need to restate
Okay.
the motion, but now we return to the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz, appropriately. It's been seconded by Commissioner Buckman, appropriately. Are there any further questions or comments related to this item? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Very good. Okay, does that satisfy the advertising piece, though?
That does, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, so.
At the public hearing, we'll delve deeper into the finding of facts, which the Planning Commission found relevant. And just for Mr. Balacino's concern, we will post the property, and it will be advertised in the Frederick News Post.
Okay. You will post the property.
But, Mr. Battaccino, process, come to the podium. Speak to me, and I will ask the chair, the rep for you.
Do I understand that the town the appropriate people will post the property and do the ad? We don't have to do any of that. Right?
That's my understanding, yes.
And could I ask, I understand that the hearing would be on October 1st, but could I ask the time of day, and is this the place?
7:30. in this meeting room.
7:30 here on October 1st.
Correct. And it would also be part of it would be part of that town meeting on October 1st also.
Oh, it will be another regular town meeting,
Correct,
and the
sir.
hearing will be part of that?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Does that help? Okay, great. Thank you.
And Mr. President, I will send Mr. Ballaccino a reminder email with a staff report.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. Okay. I think we're ready to, Mr. Sweeney, yes, sir.
I have another question. So we don't have this happen again, does the property next door to them, do they get notified or coming in or?
They do not, that's not required to notify the adjacent property owners.
But the sign will be posted on the property related to the meeting, so.
Correct.
That's it's passive notification, it's not active notification. Okay. All right, are we ready to move forward to the next agenda item? Okay, very good. All right. We now turn to agenda item number 3. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit askew here. Welcome letter for new residents for discussion and possible consideration.
Okay,
Commissioner Buckman.
so the Citizen Advisory Committee noticed a big gap in information for new residents in the town, as they were often asking questions on where to get their services on social media. So working with the EBPA, the town office, Jenny Joy, we put a lot of effort into figuring out what kind of services would a new resident be looking for to just have a quick reference guide. It's not all of the businesses in Emmitsburg, just the ones that someone may need once they moved here, the most relevant information. Instead of people saying, I didn't know we were having a Halloween thing. I didn't know we were, when trash pickup is. It's all kind of here on a quick reference guide. And of course, I really want to thank Jenny Joy. She put most of the effort into all of this. So I guess we need to put this up for consideration for the board before it's available to the newcomers or the general public.
Well, I'd like to have my wife's business put on there so I can go home at night. Okay? That will go on there, okay? I'm a member of EPPA, and our business has been here for 22 years.
Okay, well, let's ask a criteria. Go ahead, Mr. Ritz.
I know there's a statement on there just saying there's suggestions, starting point. I had a few suggestions. I didn't want to bring it to light in a public meeting, but I have a few recommendations for the list. There's a few that actually don't exist anymore.
Oh,
So if we take them off, it'd be perfect opportunity to probably squeeze in some.
oh, okay.
But
Now, is this the town that's publishing this? Like, it's like a welcome letter from the town
Yes.
government itself?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a criteria for a company to get included here? I mean, is there some
The
standard by which?
criteria was, as a newcomer, what they would need just to get started in the community, separate from the EBPA brochure that has all the businesses in it. This is just a starting, launching point for someone who's moving to town. Where do I get my oil? Where do I find a doctor? Where do I find a vet? The immediate stuff, not inclusive, everything.
Sure, sure. I'm just concerned that we're setting ourselves up for litigation where someone says, why did you not include mine versus theirs? Sort of like a favoritism issue, especially if we don't have a criteria in place. And I understand what you're saying, but I mean, is there a written kind of policy that you guys were trying to adhere to? Because I think, I understand.
We were asked to do it.
Okay,
That's
no,
what the
I
criteria
understand that. It's just that if you're advertising one business over another business, that does set us up for advocating unfair competition. Now, the other side of it is, I get what you're doing, but if we were to not have the commercial entities, I would be happy to say, yeah, this is a great idea. I think it's a really good idea. but for the town to be doing it, I have concerns, because we're sticking up for one business versus another business. Again, it kind of goes down to that issue of like, are we gonna say, so-and-so has got great pizza as opposed to so-and-so doesn't have great
We
pizza?
weren't excluding any businesses. We were including anything that someone needed when they moved to Emmitsburg. There's things here in Thurmont, there's things in Gettysburg.
Well, I'm looking at these energy companies, for example, and, I mean, I'm not an expert in local oil companies, I'll say that. But if there's one that's not included, I think that might be a real concern. Like, hey, why wasn't I included? And that's now hindered my business. You now need to compensate me for the business that I've lost.
We don't have a local business.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, though. I mean, these are all outliers, but still, like the practical town information, sure, like a utility company, I get, but when it's like a commercial service, I think that would be a concern.
I can, yeah. Well, I think once the list is finalized and if everybody's happy with it, maybe just another suggestion would be to put everything in alphabetical order.
It's a reasonable idea.
That's an idea too.
Sure.
No?
No, I think
No,
that's a good idea.
Mr. Sweeney, it sounded like he said,
No, I was, they was just, from what I understand, from what she just said tonight, is they were just giving a general information to newcomers who came to town in case they needed something quickly. Because all of our automotive stuff's not on here.
True,
There's a lot of mechanics places that aren't here.
right, that's a good
The
point.
new one's not here, and Tim's garage is not there, and there's a lot of places like that. not on
Volunteers,
there.
his place, right.
So, I think they were doing it just for a welcome letter, just to get them out, people to know where some things was in town, because they're eventually gonna know where they're all are, I guess, after they were here for a while, but if they put everything on there, it's gonna be an awful big letter.
But you're gonna fall under, as you mentioned, Commissioner O'Donnell, if you leave, which I do notice, there's several car mechanics that are not on here. And then, just as if you remember the utility warranty program that we brought to you, that the concern over recommending businesses, then you start to show the appearance of recommending one over the other, because you didn't put mine on there, but you put this guy's on there. It either needs to be to me, and this is just my opinion, it either needs to be all-inclusive with everybody in each category. I will tell you that I know our office manager, Ms. Shaw, liked the local utilities, the Potomac Edison, the gas, because people do call in, and that's the category. The local utilities and the local oil companies are the ones that we get calls on the most with new people. So we like that aspect of it, but I do understand the concerns over either you have to make sure you have everybody on here, or you shouldn't have anybody.
It was my understanding that many people looked at it before it came here.
Yeah, and I noticed there are some things I did mention that it did not make it on here, and we had a lot of emails going back and forth, so maybe the email didn't come through, or something of that nature.
Now, the other item, the Facebook for Emmitsburg Cares, it's definitely useful, but if it's a town advertisement, that means everybody else who has Facebook who wants to get it on there should have the opportunity to get their Facebook on there.
Okay.
Do you follow what I mean?
So we'll scrap this and we'll go back. That's fine.
The other stuff is, it definitely has utility. I mean, I don't mean to be a heavy hand on this, and I'm sure I sound that way, but there's a need for this. If it's expanded, then the town, I could see doing it, but I just feel that we're at risk of seeming as if we're playing favorites, and that's a concern.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How about if they do it not as a town, town doing it, it'd be done as a committee, and they do it, and they put it in the brochure, and they put it in the brochure things around the town. All the, all the businesses and stuff that have all the brochure things.
Well, you do, we have the EBPA's pamphlet up there with businesses. I think Commissioner Buckman and I had a lot of conversations. I think there's good value to something like this. I know my vision was, how do we get new residents to know where to find things that are town-related? Where do I go to find where my parks are, the pool, or the community events, or how do I pay my water bill? When does my water bill come out? What about trash and things of that nature, as well as the local utilities? So I think it's something, and I know staff agrees, I think it's something that's definitely needed, without stepping on the toes of the EBPA, because they're two separate things, if that makes sense.
So
I think it's a good idea.
So just, everything's good on it, just take the business parts out and leave the EBPA's brochure there? Guess already got them all on.
Right. I think when you're talking local businesses, but when you're talking about your local utilities, the majority of them aren't, they're not town.
Yeah.
Your local oil companies or your local utilities, except for the town's water and sewer. I don't know. It's just my opinion.
Sure.
During your Citizens Advisory Committee meetings, was that like the overwhelming majority thought that putting the local businesses was the best idea? Okay. I mean, I could see use in it. I can also see if another company potentially feeling slighted if they're not included. Maybe just streamline it a little bit.
If you were to remove the commercial entities, I think that would give a strong guide to the services. I think that would help.
So all salons, all auto repair, all Facebook pages,
Right.
all churches. Maybe we left out a couple churches
Other than restaurants,
and takeout restaurants.
other than McDonald's, all the local restaurants are covered. At least here in Emmitsburg. Except for Chubby's, right outside of town.
The Chinese restaurant,
Yeah.
You know,
just saying.
That's the thing, is you're gonna have, hopefully we have new ones coming in and,
Sure. Well, it's a photograph and it's a snapshot in time too, so I
Right.
think we understand that. Here's the thing, you're straddling, you're straddling two issues here. You have, like, the town staff request is the services piece. Like, how to make the best out of what we offer here in town government.
So take out oil companies, because that's
I-
competitive?
Not that it's not competitive, but it's not clear that everybody's included. Like, for example, if you have, I'm looking at the plumbing mention, you have one company that's in Thurmont, you have Jubilee that's in Emmitsburg, Weiss could come in and say, hey, you forgot us.
Well,
We're in
I don't
Thurmont.
think that we could do anything that would eliminate liability, so I think we should scrap the whole thing. And you just put something on your Facebook, on your website, saying these are things that you could go to help out. Because there's no way that we're either gonna scrap 3/4 of this and just have it very sterile, which we already have.
but we don't. We don't,
We do. Someone could call the town office. Okay, you have EPPA businesses on your website. All the
not-
businesses are there.
That's not correct. They're only the business who pay for the EBPA to be a member. That's not all the businesses in Emmitsburg. There's 160 some, I think, businesses in Emmitsburg altogether.
Right.
That I know of, but I don't know how many EBPA has on their list, but they're the only ones who pay the dues. I think it's on their list, correct?
I haven't looked at it lately. I think the only ones that pay make the map, but I think all businesses make the list.
All businesses? I don't know, because I don't.
I don't remember. I thought that's what I saw, but I'd have to look at the pamphlet again.
I like the intent of this. I like. I know a lot of effort went into this, and I appreciate that. I'm just afraid, as others have said, somebody just might get upset. And then upset, potential litigation. Yeah, you never know. And then, yeah, then I look at the whole thing with the water warranty. I remember that too, because we, at least I felt, I was uncomfortable in having the town endorse a particular company. That was just one, though. Granted, this is a larger list, but it's tough. It's a tough decision here.
So here's a thought. So before you scrap the whole thing, number one, there is value in what you've done, and I know you know that. I hope you recognize that. Can I make a suggestion? Speak to someone at Maryland Municipal League, present what your goal is, and if they come back and give a green light to the advocacy for commercial organizations, then I personally would be more comfortable, so long as they vet it through their ethics person or committee or however that goes. Because I think basically if they come back and say that, yeah, this is the way to go, or if they say, you stepped out of bounds, you have a pretty strong argument one way or the other.
Okay,
Would that be a useful path for you to follow?
maybe.
Okay, all right, it's a thought. Anybody else have any other suggestions related to this? No? Okay. Okay, all right. Commissioner Buckman, anything else you want to say?
I'm sorry?
Anything else you want to say related to this?
No,
No? Okay, all right. Are you okay if we turn to the next agenda item?
I suggested it, yeah.
Great, okay, very good. All right, so now let's turn to agenda item number 4 for consideration, sewer relining project on East Main Street.
What I would like to do, we have a PowerPoint that I think Ms. Shaw and Ms. Nail will get up and running for me. What I'd like to do with board permission is I'm going to combine agenda item number 4 and number 5 because they are related. They're kind of intertwined. One affects the other, but it's not, a lot of the information that we pull for the sewer relining is related to the pumping station. Neither project is the answer to the problems. They will all just make our situation better. All this comes down to, as you know, I mentioned in all my manager's report, it's about the I&I, and that's basically what we're talking about when it comes to your sewer relining on East Main Street. And just before we get started, we're proposing the sewer relining project on East Main Street. What I'd like you to take away from this presentation is it doesn't end today with if it is approved that we reline East Main Street. We need to consider budgeting each year a section of our sewer lines to be relined because the I&I is going to come in throughout all the sewer lines throughout the town. This is where we know we have a significant issue. This is where we know that the relining is needed. So I'll start with basically what is I&I. It is basically your inflow and infiltration. It's essentially when your groundwater enters the sanitary sewer system through cracked pipes, holes, gaps in the lines. Excessive I&I can cause the following after a rain event. It can cause the pumps at your pumping station to run for prolonged periods of time. It can cause manholes to spill wastewater onto roadways or green space. We have significant spikes in the flow at the wastewater treatment plant, and it can cause backups at various places in your wastewater system. What I'm going to do throughout this presentation, Mr. Fissel is here, our water and sewer superintendent. I'm going to have him volunteer information to answer a lot of the questions as we go through this presentation. Basically, these are your inflow sources and your infiltration sources. Your inflow sources can come from basically your roof drain connections, your uncapped cleanouts, faulty manhole cover or frame, or storm sewer cross connections. Your infiltration systems or sources come from either a connected foundation drain, a broken house lateral, a faulty lateral connection, a cracked or broken pipe, a deteriorated manhole, also root intrusion into the laterals. So there's a lot of ways that I can get into their system. This is from the United States EBPA, the Guide for Estimating I&I. I&I may be considered excessive when it is the cause of overflows or bypasses. The cost to transport and treat exceeds the cost to eliminate, or when corrective, and health or environmental actions are required. The impact of I&I to the town, and this is when I'll have Dan, if you want to, I guess, just jump up to the podium here. This graph shows your I&I, your average daily excess. Basically, you'll see the note down there, 254,000 gallons is the norm per day based on 1,016 town connections. This graph shows you the excess, which is essentially above the normal 254,000 gallons per day that we're taking in, that I&I is causing. So you can see the spikes. We've been way high since December of 2017. You had your spike in January, over 500,000 gallons in excess. In, I believe that's May, June of 2018, you had over a 700,000 gallon excess of I&I coming into the system. Did you want to add anything, Dan?
The 0%,
Oh, that's you come to the podium. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
Thank you, sir.
The excess is over pretty much to zero, would be the norm, 254,000. And as Kathy said, it's based on 10,016 connections that we have in town. Okay, we should be, in a perfect world, you should be pretty much a straight graph line. It never works that way, but the closer you can get to the norm, the better off our system is, the reliability, the treatment at the wastewater plant, the normal wear and tear on all your equipment. It prolongs it versus wearing it out in 5 years versus 50 years. Okay.
So this graph here shows the percentage of wild water treated. We hit a high in the month of May of over 70%, May and June of over 70% of the wastewater coming into the plant that's treated is wild water. As Dan mentioned, and there's a quote you'll see at the end of this presentation, that wild water wreaks havoc on your sanitary sewer, your wastewater operations. The cost of I&I. So the cost of treating your inflow and infiltration, this is based off an an EPA article. They estimate that for every 1,000 gallons of wild water or I&I, it's $2. So in February of 2018, our wastewater treatment plant was over capacity 13 times, due mostly to I&I. The estimated cost to treat I&I that month alone was $29,514. On average, we are bringing in 351 million gallons per day in excess. No, 350. Dan, what do you got written there?
351 million gallons a day, which is 351,000 gallons over and above the 254,000 what we're supposed to be treating
On average.
on average.
So if you look here at what your I&I has been costing you since about December of 2016, we started roughly at around 10,000, and we've been slowly increasing since then. If you look at the 2017 data, we didn't have a lot of rain in 2017. This year, We've had a lot of precipitation, which has caused the INI to spike, which will cause your cost to spike. So in May, June of 2018, you're spending over $40,000 a month in just treating your wild water. That's your chemicals, that's your power sources, that's your staff time, that's the wear and tear on all your equipment that this INI is costing you. The environmental impact of INI. Just an example of the sanitary sewer overflows that we've seen in since 2013. In 2013, we had about 27,000 gallons lost. In 2014, we had 31,000 gallons. 2015, it was 25,000. I got my dates wrong. 2016 was the drought. 2017, we only had about 7,000. 2018, and we're only just touching 9 months in, we've had 47,000 gallons lost in sanitary sewer overflows in this month or this year alone. This is the breakdown of our sanitary sewer overflows this year. As you can see, we started out in January. We had 2 in July, and we've had 3 in August, for a total of 47,000 gallons lost. All of these overflows must be reported to the Frederick County Health Department and to MDE. As we'll get further in the presentation, MDE does fine for sanitary overflows. We have received fines. We anticipate receiving fines this year for our latest overflows. This one's a little hard to see. After the last rain event in July and their sanitary overflow in July, the Frederick County Health Department provided updates on areas affected by floodwaters and sewage overflows, which I mentioned to you already, that Flat Run and Thomas Creek and Emmitsburg was mentioned in this news release as being affected by sewage due to the sanitary overflows. The Health Department recommends that everyone avoid contact with these waterways and all floodwaters, because if a resident comes in contact with water from the affected streams, they should wash thoroughly with soap and water, especially before eating. It's hazardous to swim in it. The condition of the East Main Street line, and this is where I'll turn it over to Dan. This is the Main Street sewer line. It was scoped or cameraed or videotaped back in August of 2010. Do you want the pointer, Dan? Are you okay?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
They're pretty glaring as far as I'm concerned. If anybody has any questions. Okay, now the first one will be an offset joint. That either occurred when it was being laid or when the street settled or moved. New water work, new water lines. The cracks just develop over time due to the same thing, heaving, moving. You can see more examples, the cracks. It's mostly cracks. This is a description on the left is an unused service connection. When we relined Lincoln Avenue, we got rid of 57 connections that were just dumping water into the system.
Each connection is a potential INI.
That one is unused, but it's still tapped out to the property line and capped. So a lot of times in the past, people would be needing a sewer line. Well, they didn't have any information where the connection was. So they just dig a trench to the sewer line, knock a hole in it, stick the pipe in, concrete it. And over the years, that deteriorates, that breaks. This next one really surprised me. There's no pipe there on that one side. So I'll imagine that's the road bed holding it in there. I don't know if there's concrete on the other side of that. I don't know if it's just stones. This next one's another one here. That's a jewel also. Okay, these are just more examples of cracks and just to show you how deteriorated it is. Now, in seasons like we've had, okay, all these trenches act as drains. All the water goes to these trenches around the water lines, around the sewer lines. If there's a crack, that's the easiest path for it. It can flow right away down through that pipe.
What is the pipe material? Is it
That,
steel?
that is vitrified clay, what they call terracotta.
Okay, so this is a really
This
old
is,
line.
this is probably put in around the 30s,
Okay.
a lot of it.
Don't use it anymore.
Okay, so if they
And they-
did the
they
same
work.
process they used on South Seaton, where they put the liner in, they steam it and bake it in place? Is that what we're
Yeah,
talking-
Lincoln Avenue, yes.
Sorry, Lincoln, okay.
Yeah, it was new pipe put in out here,
Okay.
which is generally more costly because you have the excavation, the repairs to the streets and sidewalks and all that stuff. Okay, there's more descriptions of holes. This is pretty much scattered out the whole way down through there. There's a lot more than what we're showing.
And this one here is actually water. This is actual infiltration. It's hard to see in this picture, but this is actual water coming in to the pipe. So that's your actual infiltration coming into your system.
Now, can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
We're in the process of relining a water line now, under 95, Highway 95. We had to clean it and de-water it, and they have to dry it. So are they going to be able to do that with water coming into the system?
Yes.
I've seen it done. I'm in the process.
It's a different, what they will do is they'll plug the manhole and they'll pump around it while they're relining it.
I've done that before.
And, I mean, if it's too much coming in, it may affect it. And you might have to do a point repair, which would mean digging it up at that location.
Now, when they reline it, they're going to be able to cut the services out at the same time, or
Correct, yes.
because I know it has to cool.
They will do from manhole to manhole, and then they will go back through that line and cut the connections out the same day.
And not put the
And-
ones in that don't need to be.
Right,
Damn.
and it will identify all those at that point. Here's the process. What you do is you flush the line thoroughly. Then you inspect the line. They run the camera down. They get all the footages. They get all the connection locations, 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock, wherever they're at. Then they slide the lining material through there from manhole to manhole, and they will use air pressure to expand it. You can use air, you can use steam. There's all several methods. The air pressure will expand it, and it'll mold to the line, the existing line that's there. And then it takes 2 to 3 hours to cure it. And then you do a post inspection. After you cut everything, cut all the laterals back out to ensure that you have you have everybody covered. You don't want to cut somebody off that.
That makes them unhappy souls.
And then you have a new line with the exception of the laterals.
If we don't know where all the laterals are, how do we know which ones we're supposed to be?
We're going to have to go house to house and flush some dye in as the camera is there. So we can, if this house, you put green dye in there and it comes out green out of that pipe that we're looking at. I mean, we're looking at the pipe inside the sewer line. And you'll say, okay, at a certain amount of feet at 10 o'clock, this is connection, say 121 East Main Street.
So Dan, where you have the example where the pipe was completely gone, eroded away or whatever, and you have raw earth, gravel, road surface, whatever it is, the unknown material that's holding the shape. If you put the insert in there, does it contort to a larger diameter, and does that cause a problem?
They'll have the specifications that they can expand to.
Okay.
And the contractor will tell us if that area will work or not.
Okay.
We will definitely show him this video. or they will have their own video at that point.
Okay.
And like I said, if they feel that it can't be done at that certain location, you'd have to dig up that section and repair that pipe and then line it.
And then form it, and then, okay.
Yep, then form it and then reline it.
So are we looking to get the board to approve the process or the grant application, or?
What we'd like to do is, this project is from, it'll be from East Main, or from the square, correct, Dan, down to the house past?
Down
Dollar-
to the end, the house just past the dollar store,
Right, and then out.
and
Creamery
then
to the stop
down
sign.
Creamery Road to the first manhole at Lincoln Avenue where we didn't get on the Lincoln Avenue project. And that way, that whole stretch will be done.
So what we did, and they're estimating it'll take about a week, and they're gonna do, was it a week or 2 weeks?
A week, I think they said.
Right, and do it in sections. We don't anticipate having to do any road closures or any flagging, except for maybe a few sections where there's no parking spaces available. We did go out and get 3 estimates for the relining, and what you're looking at is about 1,500 linear feet of the 8-inch pipe and about 550 linear feet of the 10-inch pipe. You'll see the estimates there. Staff recommends Mr. Rehab at $80,575. To pay for this project, this would be paid out of your, basically your water or your sewer fund, your enterprise fund. Estimated cost between 80 and 90,000. If approved, the funding for this project will come from the business fund as an asset addition to the balance sheet. Basically, it would be a cash expense that the town would pay for, and then the depreciation expense would be booked over the useful life of the asset, which is estimated to be about 50 years. And so that's how the project would be, this project would be funded.
If everyone remembers down on Creamery Road, the big hump that was there, Mr. Rehab relined that section, and the road was repaired, and it's still holding great. They do good work.
You're satisfied?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Sweeney, in your expertise, 50-year life?
I recommend doing it. You get a brand new pipe, and you don't have to dig anything up.
Okay.
It saves a lot of time and money, and we got enough dug up in town now, people won't go crazy. But look at the money you save. It's $80,000 to fix it,
Correct.
and we're spending 47 now, and it's not even 4 years. So you look at the money you're going to save after 2 years. You're going to be already. You won't have to spend that money anymore.
It's mostly the chemical costs
Yeah.
for treating all that water. Because once it drops into that sewer line, it's considered sewer water. So
Sorry, well.
So looking at this as a phased-in project, let's say we, assuming the board approves this, okay, we go forward on this one. Have we prioritized other lines that we'll move to in order to continue to reduce the infiltration and the wastewater?
absolutely, yes.
We have like a pecking order that's established.
Yes.
Terrific. Okay.
My inclination would be to start at the pump station and work our way back through town till we hit new pipe.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, you
Well-
want to start at the source where it goes all to, and then you work your way back.
We have 2 experts in the room. I think we're pretty
But
lucky.
it needs done.
So each year we would bring to you our recommendation of the area.
How much there you
with,
gonna do?
again, 3 bids. We wouldn't have to go through this, we could go through this presentation again, show you how things are progressing. This line isn't the end-all be-all. It's not gonna fix all the problems. But in Dan's opinion and in Mr. Click's opinion, this is the most needed. This is where we should start. But we would like to have a 5-10-year plan to address all
All the
the
issues.
sewer lines, because they all are
I gotta give it
in bad shape until you get to some of the newer lines.
And I believe we need to start putting some money into the CIP to cover this for year to year. I mean, we got to do it. If you don't do it now, we won't have anything.
You're gonna pay for it later down the road.
You need to
Yeah.
repair.
Yeah.
We've seen other towns where
You gotta
fortunately
have
have
it.
done it.
And you're suggesting a 10-year plan?
I think that's what Dan and I had talked about. We hadn't come up with an official plan yet. That's something
Okay.
that we need to do. We were kind of feeling the waters on this project. We
Sure.
wanted to present you with the information, kind of get you a better understanding of what we've been dealing with and talking about. Now that we have your support, Dan and I and Mr. Click will sit down and come up with what we feel is a reasonable plan financially and as well as what the we can do.
Mr. Mayor, you're on board?
I think so. Am I on board?
I thought you were on
Okay,
board.
good. It sounds like it. Just want to hear from you.
Yeah, he's,
Okay.
we've had several meetings with the
Yeah.
mayor
Terrific.
about this, and he is 100% supportive of the infrastructure. Yes, I'm sorry if I left you out in this discussion,
No,
Mr.
we
Mayor.
don't under,
It's really interesting to see when they do it, and then also when they're cameraing it to find out how to do it and how much they need and how to fix it. They'll let you go in and look at the cameras. I mean, when we just did ours for 95, I was in watching the cameras when it goes through to make sure all the water was out and they showed everything and how they cleaned it. It's really interesting to see.
And failure to proceed doing this, I could see, years from now, the entire system failing. Not addressing it now, I'm assuming would potentially raise sewer rates for everyone in town because we're treating everything. So when you go in, just one real quick question. I know we don't have to tear anything up, but when they go in with the camera and everything, not knowing the future, if we were really bad, find out it's really terrible, then would they have to tear the street up then?
You would have to make the decision whether you need to put new pipe in or reline what's there.
If it ever
So-
came to that, my only suggestion to the town would be, wait a minute, hold that thought. Would it be the town taking care of it, or would it be state, because it's a state
It's
route?
It's the town.
Perfect.
yes.
Because I think we have a lot better communication than the state, even though they came in last week. As long as we're up front with everybody, let them know what's going on, I think everybody be happy.
They're our pipes, not the
Alright.
states. States have the road and stuff, but they're our pipes.
Right, now, if you, just say for this particular project, if we would be redoing one of our roads, okay, we would take it back to specs, okay, the way it was. If you're on a state road, like East Main Street, you're gonna repave the whole road
Correct.
to cut that much of it. I mean, it's expensive to get on a state road.
Yeah, it's like 25, 50 feet in each
Right,
direction.
from the end of the cut.
Yeah, a lot.
So does that mean at a future, like at the next meeting, we'll be voting on the
The funding for the project?
yeah, like who's doing it, like the contractor selected?
Oh, I mean, I was kind of hoping to get a vote tonight, but if I need to bring it back at the next meeting, I can. We have the 3 bids here.
But if they do need to repair a pipe that can't be relined, then they'll bring a bid back from a construction
Right, if
company to fix
if
it.
there's additional significant work that would need to be done in addition to this, then we would obviously bring that back, but
And this is the same contractor we used before, you said?
I used them before, and I
Road.
also used Humphrey before also. Now, they're a good company, but they usually come in a little higher than
Understand.
U.S. Pipelining. I've heard of them, but I've never seen any of their work.
Okay.
I'm assuming they're all the same, so.
Okay, so just a thought, not to be, the doomsayer. Just remember, well, number one, I'm for this project. I want to be absolutely clear about this. I think, like Mr. Ritz, like you said, we have to do something like this now. We have to set up a 10-year plan. We have to see priorities. We'd like to hear back from you, in my view. But as we know, once you open up the ground, sometimes one doesn't know what one will find. So we do also have to be mindful that there are going to be other issues that are certainly going to surface. So as much as I think it would be perfect to say it's going to be 80K, the reality is that there will be more expenses related to this, I'm sure. I mean, in fairness to everybody. So just be mindful that that's, we're going to do some serious spending and, up to 40% more, something akin to that, I would speculate.
But it has to be
So,
done.
but it absolutely has to be done. So let's not think we're getting off lightly or cheaply.
No.
Because we want to do it right.
I'll make a motion to accept Rehab's relining bid as presented.
Right, the motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Very good. Is there any further discussion? Okay, is it Rehab or Mr. Rehab?
Mr.
Ms.
Rehab.
Rehab, okay, very good.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? Okay, the motion carries 5-0 to move forward with Mr. Rehab. Okay,